Welcome to Daily Truths with Dave Ahlman.
Hi, everybody. Welcome again to Daily Truths with Dave Ahlman. I want to ask you a question. How do people, quote, deal with everyday life, unquote? I mean, a lot of folks today, because of all the things that are happening with coming out of COVID and inflation prices and political distress and all these different things, not to mention all the stuff that we go through in everyday life, a lot of people are turning to alternatives that may not necessarily be good for them, like drugs or alcohol or addictions or workaholism or whatever it is. They're turning to things that really in the long run don't help them. So I want to ask you today, what do you turn to? How do you cope with everyday life? With all the things going on around us and all the uncertainties of the future, how do you cope? Well, the answer is found in this beautiful text, this powerful text found in the book of Matthew, chapter 1, verse 23. It says this, and again, this is in the context of Joseph receiving news that his wife was going to give birth to the Son of God. This is what the angel told him. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which means God with us. Holy cow. Jesus Christ was God in human form. And of course, we've talked about this before at our church, at Peace Lutheran Church. He had brothers and he had sisters. And so these younger brothers and sisters grew up with Jesus, with God in the very room that they were sleeping. And can you imagine Mary and Joseph possibly saying to their kids, why can't you guys be more like Jesus? And them responding by saying, well, you think he is perfect. That's right, he is. He's God. I love that song, Mary, Did You Know? Mary, did you know that when you kiss the face of your baby, you're kissing the face of God? Peter said it best when he said, you're the Christ, the Son of the living God. At the end of, near the end of Jesus' life, on the day that actually a week after he rose from the dead, what did Thomas say? He got down on his knees and he said, you're the Lord and you're God. Can you imagine that? That as the disciples were traveling around with Jesus, maybe he was sleeping in a tent. Hey, that's God living with us. That's God when he smells a flower. That's God when he listens to our words. That's God when he speaks. That's God when he's looking upon us. God was truly with them in human form. Now, the amazing thing is, the book of Matthew starts out with this marvelous promise that Jesus is Emmanuel, which means God with us. And how does the book of Matthew end? It ends with this, lo, I am with you always to the very end of the age. Now that promise, folks, is not just for the disciples. It's for us too. And here is how you cope with everyday life. Jesus is your Emmanuel. That means he is with you. 3 ways I'm going to talk about real quickly today. He is with you. He is Emmanuel, God with you, giving you his strength. You may be facing things in your life that are very, very challenging, but I want to tell you, Jesus is there to give you strength. When you're so weak that you cannot carry on and you wonder how you're going to cope with everyday life, Jesus, secondly, will carry you. He is God with us in that he carries us. And thirdly, and this is my favorite, according to Romans chapter 8, when we mess up, when we sin, when we fall short of the glory of God, when we don't do what God tells us to do, when we are disobedient to his commands, do you know what Jesus is doing? Thirdly, he is interceding for us as Emmanuel, God with us. He is always going before the Father saying, Father, they don't know what they're doing. They've messed up. I died for them. Please forgive them. And guess what? God the Father will. How cool is that? So that's how we cope with everyday life. We cope with Emmanuel, who is God with us, who strengthens us, who carries us, and who intercedes for us. And that is today's daily truth. Oh, by the way, folks, if you would be so kind, if you're enjoying these videos, I would love to hear from you. I've only heard from a couple of you, the very first video we sent out. So if you're enjoying these, if they're edifying you, if they're lifting you up, if they're encouraging you, I would love to hear from you. Go ahead and put a comment in the comment section here on this YouTube video, and I would greatly appreciate it. Have a great day in Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Daily Truths with Dave Ahlman. Please like and subscribe, and if led, donate to this ministry. It is greatly appreciated.